Beloved by Oprah, adored by Gaga, over his nearly 3 decades of teaching, mind and body guru Deepak Chopra has created nothing short of a spiritual empire. But now, a controversial new documentary made by his own son is tossing some surprising adjective his way, like detached father and smartphone addict. ABC's Dan Harris sat down with both Chopras to discuss the film.
Deepak Chopra, spiritual teacher to stars like Kim Kardashian, 50 Cent, and Lady Gaga.
The most influential person in my life is Deepak Chopra.
And the author of 67 books is revered by millions. But not apparently by his own son.
He's meditating.
Gotham Chopra, Deepak's only son, is about to release a documentary called Decoding Deepak that is an up-close
okay, you can't just keep filming randomly.
and not always flattering portrait that has some of his father's followers fuming.
There's no ego in it?
None whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
In this movie, your son shows you scratching your butt, snoring when you're supposed to be meditating, constantly on your BlackBerry. He also portrays you as obsessed with being in the public eye and even detached from your own family. So how is it that you two are still on speaking terms?
I feel like maybe I should get up and leave the room.
No, it's I'm detached, as I said. Even in the movie, I said that. My love for him is none of his business. And I would love him irrespective of that.
No part of you was annoyed, upset?
I was not personally offended.
There's nothing to be offended by. You know, he's a human being. Look, his audience often has a very idealized version of him, and that is a hard expectation to meet.
In the film, Gotham portrays himself as the prodigal son who was groomed to inherit the keys to his father's spiritual empire, but instead went off to be a journalist and filmmaker.
That was shooting.
There's going to be a Freudian temptation to see this movie as a son who's angry at his dad for not being around.
Yeah, it's not even Freudian. I mean, my father was not the father who came to soccer games or played catch in the front yard.
In our interview, Gotham was at pains to point out that his portrayal is also an affectionate one.
I never set out to destroy my father. It's called Decoding Deepak, not Destroying Deepak. So I never set out to do that, and I'm sensitive to that.
Gotham and his cameras chase his frenetic father across the globe for a year, during which Deepak often tries to commandeer the film.
The story begins about the year 1952. I think that should be the ending with special effects.
Nightline makes a cameo during this scene where Deepak is supposedly on a meditation retreat at a Buddhist monastery in Thailand, but is instead stewing about a recent debate we hosted with his arch nemesis, the skeptic Michael Shermer.
It's not local God. What does that even mean?
Supposed to be detached from that right now. I'm not. So I was a little upset.
Pissed off.
Yeah, I was a little upset.
In the next scene, Deepak gets his head shaved and is ordained as a monk, although he does not let go of his BlackBerry.
Send me a text before you do.
Gotham also tweaks his dad for spouting sometimes incomprehensible spiritual speeches.
Where's the I that really exists? Everywhere.
An issue that both Gotham and I teased Deepak about in this interview.
That the universe is a nanotechnology workshop in the mind of God.
So that's where it gets hard to understand.
Why? I mean, you're using
Let's
this...
pull the room.
I'm glad everybody's seeing this. This is getting a little window into my world. It's like every time you think you're here, you slip into the Matrix.
While there are a lot of tough moments in the film, it is also, in Gotham's word, a love letter to his father, who came from India, became a pioneer in mind-body medicine, and has impacted countless lives.
I am moved quite regularly now by people who come up to me on the street and say, your father helped me through one of the darkest periods of my life.
Still, Deepak says when he saw the film, it was a bit of a wake-up call.
I think I've gone through some transition and some introspection. We had a conversation.
Are you always right?
Am I always right? I tend to think that I am.
And I then thought about that and I said, maybe I am wrong. At least he perceives me as wrong many times. So maybe there's some truth to it. Yes, there is a change.
A world-famous spiritual teacher who may now have learned a few things from his own son. For Nightline, this is Dan Harris in New York.
Father and son. Decoding Depok opens October 5th, and Depok says he's no longer using that BlackBerry when he's with other people, he says. Thanks to Dan for that. Just ahead, Gwen